Hello, welcome back. We are now at chapters 15 and 16 of Isaiah. Here at Prophet Central, we are going through the word of the Lord given to Isaiah this year. And we've been going strong, seeing a lot of negative messages here given to the prophet. And now we get into some chapters given to the enemies of God and his people. Starting first with Moab. So word summary for chapters 15 and 16. We have 618 words, and we find only about 2% I have deemed as neutral. 16% is positive, and again, the large majority, considering this is to the enemies, is 82% negative. Isaiah chapter 15, verses 1 through 8. The burden of Moab, because in the night of Moab is laid waste and brought to silence. Because in the night Kir of Moab is laid waste and brought to silence. He's gone up to Bayit and to Dibon, the high places, to weep. Moab shall howl over Nebo and over Medeba. On all their heads shall be baldness, and every beard cut off. In their streets they shall gird themselves with sackcloth. On the tops of their houses and in their streets every one shall howl, weeping abundantly. And Heshbon shall cry, and Elealeh their voice shall be heard even unto Yahaz. Therefore the armed soldiers of Joab shall cry out. His life shall be grievous unto him. My heart shall cry out for Moab. His fugitives shall flee unto Zoar. An heifer of 3 years old, for by the mounting up of Luhit, with weeping shall they go it up. For in the way of Horonaim they shall raise up a cry of destruction. For the waters of Nimrim shall be desolate, for the hay is withered away, the grass faileth, there is no green thing. Therefore the abundance they have gotten, and that which they have laid up, shall they carry away to the brook of the willows. For the cry is gone round about the borders of Moab, the howling thereof unto Eglaim, and the howling thereof unto Berelim. For the waters of Dimon shall be full of blood, for I will bring more upon Dimon, lions upon him that escapeth of Moab, and upon the remnant of the land. So here we get the beginning of this message to the enemies of God and his people, which are facing destruction. And these people will lament over their greatest possessions and achievements being lost, including their temples and such, religious ordinances and worship and buildings and whatnot. They will be compelled to be humble and forsake their own carnality and all of their ungodly lifestyle. And through this, they realize the weakness of the little power that they actually have as humans compared to the power of God. No one, absolutely no one, will be spared from the power of God, either unto salvation or unto destruction. Isaiah chapter 16, verses 1 through 8. Send ye the lamb to the ruler of the land from Selah to the wilderness unto the mount of the daughter of Zion. For it shall be that as a wandering bird cast out of the nest, so the daughters of Moab shall be at the fords of Arnon. Take counsel, execute judgment, make thy shadow as the night in the midst of the noonday. Hide the outcasts, bewray not him that wandereth. Let mine outcasts dwell with thee. Moab, be thou a covert to them from the face of the spoiler. For the extortioner is at an end, the spoiler ceaseth, the oppressors are consumed out of the land. And in mercy shall the throne be established, and he shall sit upon it in truth in the tabernacle of David, judging and seeking judgment and hasting righteousness. We have heard of the pride of Moab. He is very proud, even of his haughtiness, and his pride and his wrath, but his lies shall not be so. Therefore shall Moab howl for Moab, every one shall howl. For the foundations of Kir Hareset shall ye mourn. Surely they are stricken, for the fields of Heshbon languish, and the vine of Sibmah, the lords of the heathen, shall have broken down the principal plants thereof. They are come even unto Yazer. They wandered through the wilderness. Her branches are stretched out. They are gone over the sea. So here, my commentary is in two parts. The first positive part, that God commands all to make concessions, even the enemies of God, with his kingdom, through sacrifice and purity, because so many will be left in desolation and destruction. And we are commanded to be hospitable and not betray our neighbor facing affliction and turmoil. We all face the same enemy, and only the power of God can unite us. So God will take down his enemy, and he will establish his righteousness. That is certain. God's enemies are prideful and boastful, but all of this must surely pass away, as those enemies will be humbled and made to mourn the loss of all they have, being weak and broken, scattered all over the earth, over all the seas. Verses 9 through 14. Therefore, I will be well with the weeping of Yazer, the vine of Sibmah. I will water thee with my tears, O Heshbon, and Elealeh, for the shouting for thy summer fruits, and for thy harvest is fallen. And gladness is taken away, and joy out of the plentiful field. And in the vineyards there shall be no singing, neither shall there be shouting. The treader shall tread out no wine in their presses. I have made their vintage shouting to cease. Wherefore my bowels shall sound like an harp for Moab, and mine inward parts for Kirharesh. And it shall come to pass, when it is seen that Moab is weary on the high place, that he shall come to his sanctuary to pray. But he shall not prevail. This is the word that the Lord hath spoken concerning Moab since that time. But now the Lord hath spoken, saying, within 3 years, as the years of an hireling, and the glory of Moab shall be contemned, with all that great multitude, and the remnant shall be very small and feeble. To finish up this set of chapters, I will say that God mourns for those who mourn, but he also promises to nourish them while they are in disarray, having nothing to be proud of. So we see that the enemies of God continue in religious observance and even visit their temple, yet their God doesn't hear the words of their mouth. Their prayers don't prevail, and they are just a short time away from destruction with no deliverance. It shall surely come as the word of the Lord hath spoken. So with this, we will continue on to chapters 17 and 18 with a message to more enemies of God. And may we liken ourselves as being natural men and women, natural people, as enemies of God, who have yet to be born of the Spirit, that we may consider the errors of our ways and humble ourselves before we are compelled to be humble, that we may be delivered as God has promised. So until next week, may you take the Spirit as your guide, and God bless you all.